Welcome to John Doyle Reaction Series, or John
and we have seen
Doyle
growing evidence that the dangers to our country can come not only across borders, but from violence that gathers within. There's little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home. But in their disdain for pluralism, in their disregard for human life, in their determination to defile national symbols, they are children of the same foul spirit, and it is our continuing duty to confront them.
Okay, so lackluster Bush speech, basically saying that white supremacy is the new thing and it's not Islam and Arabs, but whatever.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Tommy. I wanted to do a two-part series this week about the ties between liberalism and Satanism and conservatism and Christianity, respectively, while we're still in the wake of the new Texas abortion laws and the resultant meltdowns from the fluoride stare women who don't even live in Texas, learning that they won't be able to sacrifice their children to the altar of self-worship here in the Lone Star State anymore. But
Alrighty, we're going too fast in the video. John talks like Ben Shapiro, so let's move it to like 1.5. And he mentions the fluoride stare again. Is there a lot of chemicals in the water? Yeah, but is it the fluoride really that's hurting people? And the fluoride stuff is more just conspiracy, like bro science, I feel like. So yeah, I don't feel like you should mention that. I don't think it's funny, and I don't think it's accurate either. Like as if that's like a top 200 issue right now. Like I rather repeal like arcane OSHA regulations than change what's in the water, because what's in the water is irrelevant, honestly.
But then I found something that I wanted to use for the intro of that video, and it's going to require a lot of editing that I just would not have had time for, because it's like an audio recording, and it would just be better if it were substantiated with evidence from contemporary American culture.
Also, when we're looking at the setup, he also calls it the content kitchen. And again, just to preface the video, I haven't already, you know, I don't know John personally, obviously, but I do have mutual friends. You know, I don't want to piss him off, right? So if and when he's watching this, I don't have anything personal against him as of right now. You know, I'm just doing a little bit of constructive criticism. And like, for example, the Jesus bobblehead, I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think that that's okay. I don't know. It's a gray area, you know, having, you know, trivializing his image with a bobblehead is kind of stupid. And I think also like the whole like Jesus with the long hair, like, is that even historically accurate? We don't know. So portraying Jesus at all is one thing, and then putting him in a bobblehead figurine is kind of, you know, I'm not okay with it. Again, not to be a soy jack or anything, not to be a snowflake, but this is kind of important, you know. Don't trivialize the Messiah like that, okay? Come on.
Culture like displayed on screen, even though everyone, you know, if you hear it, you'll understand why it's been totally vindicated. I don't know. I just get very particular about these things, okay? So we're going to delay that until next week, and then this makes more sense too right now since we just had the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and I've got some pretty good takes on that, so we'll just get those out now, and then we'll do the two-part series next week. Very epic. But when I talk about 9/11, I acknowledge that I probably sound pretty callous. I don't mean to. I would imagine that's because I was like 2 years old at the time. I don't think anyone who either doesn't remember 9/11 or
damn, he's old. What the
wasn't alive for it can really understand the impact that it had on the country emotionally. So I would say, to give me the benefit of the doubt, just keep in mind that, you know, just because I'm not joining in with everyone else talking about how we can never forget how we were attacked because of our freedoms, you know, that doesn't mean that I don't understand how horrific that day was. It's just that I can't help but be honest about how I look at it 20 years later. So I will read to you the bullet points that I posted on Instagram about 9/11. You know, I used to be able to do this on Twitter, but then I got kicked off for advocating for participation in the democratic process, like a good little civic process enthusiast. So now I have to do this on Instagram, so you should definitely follow me because I post pretty good content over there too. But anyways, I said, the biggest takeaways from post-9/11 America are that 1, the peak of our post-war unity required a terrorist attack in New York City, and we'll never achieve anything even remotely close to that degree of unity again, even if something similar happened now. 2, the legal infrastructure established by the system to get the guys who hate you because you're free, and that's the NSA, DHS, Patriot Act, etc. Now that's going to be weaponized against you by the system because they hate you, which is why you're not actually free. And 3, the American right used the greatest wave of patriotism and political support in the last 100 years to, checks notes, let a bunch of our people die in the sand for heroin trafficking and arms contracts. Meanwhile, our country has irreparably devolved into a glorified theme park. Where's the lie? Where is it? Hey, the lie must be like a WMD in Iraq, am I right? Because
wait a minute. Okay, again, why does he post an Instagram story with some like troglodyte like in the picture? Like, I don't, okay. And then what, no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? I mean, there were, right? There is a reason why Saddam Hussein was trying to buy nuclear materials and yellow cakes from Nigeria, right? I mean, why would he just buy that and risk getting caught in the 90s? I mean, seriously, why would he do that if he's not trying to build a weapon of mass destruction? And, you know, with his pseudo genocide of the Kurds, do you really think he would not be of the volition to just massacre people? And so, yes, every Muslim dictator wants a nuke, so Saddam wanting a nuke is completely reasonable insofar as that's logical according to him. And so to conclude that he probably is either in possession of a weapon of mass destruction or to conclude that he's trying to is very logical and honestly the only position that is sane. Okay, and so you trivializing it like, oh shit, there was no weapons of mass destruction. Yes, there were. Again, it's a very vague definition. So what is it? Is a weapon of mass destruction a Moab bomb? Is it a nuclear weapon? Is it anthrax? You know, a lot of it. You know, is it a weapon of mass destruction if you were to get a bomb full of warheads, full of releasable aerosol, fucking fentanyl and then drop that on schoolyards and kill thousands of children that way. So again, what is weapons of mass destruction? Because using a generalized definition, there's definitely that. Now, if you were waiting for Saddam Hussein's basement to have 5 nuclear warheads in it, then I don't know what the hell you were expecting. 5-year-old John Doyle. So come on.
It's not there. No, not edgy enough. Is it like Larry Silverstein, the owner of the World Trade Center complex, who had breakfast every morning at the top of the North Tower, except coincidentally on September 11th when he had a doctor's appointment? Because it's not there. Is it my channel when I explain why that's funny? Because it's not there. The point being that in almost 3 years now of political commentary, I have only missed once, arguably twice. That bracket of takes pertaining to post-9/11 America is completely accurate. Let us discuss why. Firstly, the unity factor. You can go back and watch the archives. How they used to dub Bush speeches over rock songs on radio stations. How Disney would have all the sitcom stars talking about how much they loved America in between segments of the shows and these little montages. That was the highest degree of unity that any of us had ever seen in our lifetimes and probably will ever see again. And now that's just completely gone. And in general, the trends show that our unity as a country has been dissolving for decades. Like you can look at, for example, the trust levels between 1972 and 2012, dropping from 46 to 32%, about half the country saying they trust their countrymen to about a third in 2012. And still, that was 9 years ago. That was before Black Lives Matter went mainstream, before gender theory went mainstream, before cancel culture, before Antifa. So just imagine where it's at now. I would guess something like 20%. That is not sustainable for a country. And we've been declining for a while because of many different factors, namely mass immigration from the third world and the post-industrial restructuring of the economy. But the point is that to get to a state where you could come together with your neighbor and say that you were proud to be an American, to wave the flag, to actually be unified as a country, that required, as we said, a terrorist attack in New York City. And that unity is never coming back. Even if something like that happened again, it just isn't, because the people in this country are too nihilistic. I remember sitting in a classroom at my high school when the Parkland shooting was occurring, and I was following the coverage on Twitter, and you literally could not navigate through it without seeing all the memes that people were making about the shooting, which isn't to say that you can't joke about things like that, but it's just that the people in this country are not serious people anymore. Like, we largely have no honor, we largely have no purpose, and if something like 9/11 happened again, there would be no unity. No, instead there would be an orchestrated consolidation of animosity against American patriots, and they would have the explanation for that all worked out in the media by the establishment in this country to serve their ends at your expense. And my evidence for this is the second point, which is that when 9/11 happened, we established things like updated surveillance systems in the NSA, we established the Department of Homeland Security, we had the Patriot Act, we had all of that, and now that is all being weaponized against American patriots because they're simply defining you as a domestic terrorist. The government is legitimate. Everything that they do is legitimate. Everything that they tell you is true. And if you disagree, you are a threat to them, which makes you a terrorist by definition, which enables them to weaponize that post-9/11 infrastructure against you, despite the fact that it was supposedly created to defend you or whatever, which, by the way, I promise you is going to happen provided that things don't change. Why would it not? As we saw in the beginning, George Bush literally took time out of his address to compare Trump supporters to the 9/11 terrorists. He literally said they're cut from the same cloth. Can you find me a history book where one of the most powerful members of the ruling class, with the support and agreement and endorsement of the media or its contextual equivalent, says something like that? Says that a subset of the people over whom they govern are equivalent to the perpetrators of the deadliest attack on their soil in recorded history, and they've established the necessary legal infrastructure to go after those people, and it's because they took some silly photographs and broke some windows, or the contextual equivalent being equally insignificant and inconsequential. And then, in the immediately succeeding chapter of this history book, everything just goes back to normal. But then it all went back to normal. Everyone just forgot about it and they moved on. No, it doesn't compute. These people hate you because you love the country that they're trying to destroy. It's really that simple. And that's why the third point especially resonates with me, which was that the American right used the greatest wave of patriotism and political support of the last 100 years, and that's probably generous, but still, to check notes, let a bunch of our people die in the sand for heroin trafficking and arms contracts. Meanwhile, our country has irreparably devolved into a glorified
theme park. That's okay. That's very disingenuous. That's very clearly not what happened. I mean, come on. This is such a douchebag way of explaining it, right? All they did was make the government to screw over the American people. Is that really what politicians do? Maybe in effect, but in intention, really? Do you think somebody grows up thinking, I'm going to fuck over everybody else? That doesn't make any sense. What makes more sense is we're going to use this infrastructure to go after the terrorist, and then when the left takes power under Obama, they realize, okay, now we can use this to leverage ourselves onto other people and get our beliefs and execute our will. So again, him saying like, oh, well, I mean, he's implying, oh, well, Bush made this in 2001, with the intention of fucking over patriots in 2021, which is just asinine. And, a lot of the people that think, oh, well, Bush did this are the same people that think he's a dumbass. So again, like, pick a lane. Come on, dude. And then saying, okay, checks notes. Okay, so you're putting in the sarcasm, and then you're saying, oh, well, but we're going to let a bunch of people die in the sand for heroin trafficking arms contracts, as if that's really what's happening. If you really think that it's the military-industrial complex that's bankrolling the politicians, by and large, it really isn't. It's not even... It's debatably top 3 at best, okay? It is not that. You could probably make more Zionist theories than you can with, oh, well, Lockheed Martin is bribing Congress, like, as if that's a big deal. And then you say, okay, well, heroin trafficking, really? So you think the president more or less set up a scenario where we were going to get attacked, or after he didn't know we were going to get attacked, use our resources to then proliferate a war that made him unpopular ultimately, with the goal of basically having a lot of back-end money and income for the CIA for God knows what reason in Afghanistan. So, I mean, again, this doesn't make sense at all, dude.
theme park. I really believe that. And the moment that occurred to me was actually last spring. I think I was in this downtown area, and there were lots of really nice shops and restaurants. And this area actually used to be like a nice area, pretty safe area. People would bring their families there all the time, etc. And I'm looking at the people who are there now, and they're all from the third world. Like, they're all wearing the traditional clothing from the countries to which they actually pledge allegiance. They're all speaking the languages of the countries from which they originate. And I'm watching them, they're littering, they're letting their kids run around, knocking stuff over, screaming. And they're all standing in line outside of these designer stores. They're all standing outside of Tiffany's and Louis Vuitton and Gucci, but none of them are coming out with anything. Like, they are literally just waiting in line to go into the store for the experience. So I asked one of the employees, hey, does anyone actually buy anything down here anymore? She goes, no, people don't come down here to shop anymore. And so all of our sales are just happening online. And that's when it clicked for me. Like, oh, this country is literally just a glorified theme park. Nobody has any respect for it. Nobody has any knowledge of how to create something like this or knowledge of the brilliance and sacrifice that went into making something like this. They just show up and get whatever they can out of it. And these people send their kids to American schools and they vote. And over time, the ideas get more popular in the mainstream that America is evil and depressive. We're colonizers, as if giving them access to the greatest societal amenities and systems ever created in the history of the planet for nothing in return, except for maybe like a potential reduction in our weird pseudo-masochistic guilt, was really such a disservice to them. It's a theme park. And maybe it's been a theme park for a while, but at least it used to be a cool theme park, right? At least we used to have like Captain America for a mascot. Who's our mascot now? What mascot could best represent the United States of America in 2021? Probably like transgender George Floyd with dementia. Or actually, no, just Captain America, but gay now. That's our mascot. And we've got bright lights, we've got entertainment, we've got corn syrup and pesticides and phytoestrogens. You don't even have to pay for parking, just a per mile tax on the way here, right? Dude, we could have reversed all of that. George Bush literally had the highest approval rating in recorded history. His word was gospel, and we did nothing with it because he's complicit in all of this and also very stupid. I am unironically of the opinion that if Buchanan had won in 92, and if Norm Macdonald, may he rest in peace, hosted The Daily Show or one of its equivalents, this country would be on the right track. I really believe that was that great.
Okay.
But that didn't work out, so we had to put our faith in people like George Bush. And we will discuss that speech excerpt momentarily along with a few other points on this topic. But first, we actually have some good news. It just keeps flowing, which is that we have yet another fantastic addition to the Heck Off Commie sponsor roster. Can you tell that I want you to be armed yet? Is it obvious? Here's the thing. If you're a gun owner, you know.
We're going to skip over his ad. Okay, no offense, but come on.
Because
I don't want to be
Universal
waiting
Mag
too long.
Carrier. Never mind.
ahead and
It's just like
skip
9/11.
a
In fact,
minute
many of them
here.
are saying it's even worse than 9/11. That it was an even worse day for America than 9/11 because it was an attack on our democracy from within. These people should be put in jail. I mean, literally, they should be put in jail. I think the definition of treason, which is not constitutionally protected speech as outlined by our founding fathers, I think it should be expanded to include anyone who at any point has compared January 6th to 9/11 in a serious manner because it's treasonous. It incites violence against conservatives, as we've seen countless times.
What?
And I think these people should be put in prison for exactly 2,977 days. Oh, but John, that's not what America's about. You're right. I forgot. Let's keep doing it your way. Oh, hey, theme park entrance is right up ahead, right? If we use the government against our political opposition, how are we better than the left? That's not even what I'm saying. If I wanted to target my political opposition with the power of the state, I would just have my DOJ crack down on child pornography to achieve the same effect. The point, hyperbolic as it may be, is that a serious country would not grant influence to people who say things like that. And people have always said stupid things. But this is different. This isn't just, ha, what if an elephant was blue? It's not even, ha, I'm a woman with a penis. This is rhetoric that is deeply, deeply insulting to thousands of American families, thousands more American families who lost people in the resulting wars, to tens of millions of families who supported Donald Trump as a presidential candidate, and to our country as a whole. People who say things like that should not be allowed to hold any position of influence in governments, in media, or in education, because we are down so bad. I have to compensate by taking things to the extreme because we are down so bad. I apologize. I don't mean to alarm anyone. I'm just negotiating. I have to call for them to be imprisoned so that the counteroffer is just that they're not allowed to be teachers and politicians and stuff like that anymore. If you're that anti-American, then you should not be platformed or employed anywhere that receives tax dollars from American families. That makes sense to me. But back to the W thing. I really hated that speech he gave. The audacity of basically condemning the people who rallied behind you, who fought and died for your wars and for your father's wars, who defended you, to come out on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and basically call them equal to the people who perpetrated the 9/11 attacks is just so purely dishonest and evil. That idea, it is so evil that
That's not really what he said, though. That's a straw man. Bush was basically saying the racist and the white supremacists or whatever, the Q people, are the ones that are the terrorists, okay? And those people are simply weren't the ones that, the idiots, really, honestly, who not knowing what was up for the war, signed up for it, got themselves killed or got themselves injured, came back, believed in the 2020 stuff, and then raided the Capitol. That makes no fucking sense, dude. Okay? Bush wasn't talking about the vast majority of his voters. The people that would be naive enough to protest in the Capitol are probably less than 5% of the demography that voted for Bush in 2000. Okay, so again, saying like, oh, he's going against his own voters, not really. Okay, if Joe Biden made a speech, hypothetically, if he could actually hold a sentence together for more than 2 seconds, and he said, well, I'm going to denounce my communist supporters and the pedo supporters. It's like, okay, well, he's only alienating very few. Oh, but he's going against his fans. No, he's not. I mean, this is just like the most far off thing. George Bush, of all people, saying, oh, I don't support Wignots, they're terrorists. Oh, he's going against his support. What? Are you? Come on.
Could only have
He's
spawned in
exaggerating
Washington,
too
D.C.
much.
I felt like syndrome watching that because, George Bush has always been stupid, but he was charming, right? Like, he would just say stupid things, became a meme. W became a meme. I remember I used to have a W tank top with a picture of him on it flipping the bird. And the spirit of it was basically like, hell yeah, brother, W says these colors don't run. But then he comes out, he starts talking about our democracy and calling his former supporters foul-spirited. And it's just me and my W tank top, like, you can't trust anyone, especially your heroes. And it's so true. But the better lesson is just never trust anybody who is presently able to fraternize with those who you know to be your enemies. It really is that simple. Like, there's a reason that Donald Trump is not in the club, but George Bush is. And his father was too before he went hot tub mode. So I guess the summary is that we should seriously be sounding the alarms right now because the the rhetoric that is coming from our
Hot
own
tub
governments
mode?
on
What
that
does
day
that
of all
make
days too
sense?
is so alarming. Like
How does
things
that
really
make
seem to be
sense?
accelerating at a
What?
level that even I can't believe sometimes. We always hear about the frog in the pan, right? This idea that over time the levels are going to just slowly increase in
frog
intensity
in the
until
pot?
before you know it, you're boiling to death. That's true in theory. I think that may have even been true a few decades ago, but now it's at a point where they have consolidated so much power, both in terms of absolute power and institutional representation, that now it seems to be more like frog in the blender, right? Where everything is just happening so fast that you don't even have time to react. You're basically just like,
What's the point of him
I
wearing
think I might be in the blender
glasses
right now.
if
And
you
then it
can
turns
see
on,
the
it turns out you're right,
reflection
but it happens
of
so fast that you
like
couldn't
the
even do
ring
anything
light
about it.
he's using?
I think that's a lot more accurate, at least now. But that being said, when we take power, which
gotta
we
take
will,
the
because as we talked
glasses
about,
off.
and I think the last video, this system really is too incompetent and chaotic to ever be sustainable long term. And the things that they put in place to pacify and numb us into being oblivious to what they've done to our nation, widespread drug and alcohol abuse, pornography, obesity, mass media, consumerism, all of that is being abandoned, not in mass, but by lots of good people who realize that they effectively are weapons. And those are the people to whom George W. Bush and all of his gay friends are going to have to answer. They're going to have to answer to our guys, the guys that we put in charge of our very own Truth and Reconciliation Commission once the chips are down. And things are going to happen to them. Oh, what's that, George? You're worried? Hey, if you've got nothing to hide, you shouldn't be worried, right? Right, Patriot Acts, George? I find your lack of trust in the plan disturbing, President Bush. He gets sent to a re-education camp in Duluth or Billings to learn about our great leader, Mike Lindell. He's in 23-hour lockdown, padded cell. The pads are made of MyPillow material.
Oh my God.
I have no idea what he's going. I don't even know what this means. To be honest, I kind of checked out after we debuted the concept of transgender George Floyd with dementia, to be honest, but yeah. Just another day in the globalist American empire, right? Hey guys, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs
Okay.
up, leave it a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so that you are notified when I post, and of course, share the video with a friend. That's always important. You want to hear my impression of
Oh
want to hear
no.
my impression of Tom DeLonge playing at a anti-secession
What the hell is he
concert to
talking
fundraise
about?
for anti-secession NGOs in 2025. He's going to go. This is hypothetically after Mark Hoppus survives cancer, which he will. We're all praying for him. And then
What?
they come back. They're playing with Skiba as their fourth member, and he's going to go, "This song's about America. It's called Stay Together for the Kids." That's how Tom DeLonge talks. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Very few will understand that. That's very esoteric. You know, you really kind of have to know a few things to even understand what I'm talking about. I'm just going to keep, that's the goal for the intro. Just keep talking until the only person who knows what I'm talking about is me. That's the goal. Just get that esoteric. And then blame it on everyone else. I'm too smart. You don't get it because I'm too smart. It's not because I'm just, it's nonsense. It's just because you guys don't get it. You're not on my frequency. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. May God bless America.
What the fuck is he on, bro? Give me whatever Adderalls and uppers he's on, man. What the hell? This nibba be like stacking, like he's making a BLT of autism and rolling it all up. He's putting the bacon, the mayonnaise, the Tourette's, the fucking anxiety, the stress. He's going. Look, listen here, Jack. Here's the deal. He simply, I feel like he's just not neocon enough, okay? He's too bigoted against neoconservatism, and, you know, you gotta come around, John. The nuances will set you free, son. And look, I'll tell you the truth. John simply is too populist. That's what it is. And, you know, oh, he's a part of American Populist Union. I don't care, bro. You should have named it something else, because half of the people in that thing don't even believe in populism as a virtue or as a principle, okay? So populism in and of itself is actually a bad thing, if anything, right? So I believe that, oh, the elites are all shit. Oh, you know, thousands of people died in vain. Okay, come on, seriously. It's not that simple. And for him to, like, trivialize it is, I'm not offended because I don't care about the people who died. I honestly, you know, I'm very cold. You're right. I'm trying to ignore that. I didn't go there. I don't know anybody else personally who died in Iraq. So, I mean, I don't really care. Like, I'm not crying about it. But it is a bad thing. And ultimately to say, like, oh, all these people died in the sandbox for heroin and arms contracts, like, really? Is it that simple? I mean, it is. I mean, it's just like saying, oh, all the people who died in the Russian Revolution just died for some fat guy with a beard who's a pedo called Karl Marx. I mean, that is so stupid and reductionist to the point where it's a mocking sort of thing to do. And again, I'm not offended. I'm just offended by how stupid it is. And again, he's a smart guy, so I would expect John to be on his A game. But I think he's phoning it in this video, and I feel like he's necessarily not giving Bush enough credit and, you know, saying like, oh, there was no weapons of mass destruction. I mean, he's basically taken the Democrat 2006 bill, okay? And I don't, you know, enjoy it. And he must watch some more documentaries on the wars. He has to take the Outpost 2020 pill. He needs to take the Nuance pill. He needs to read the General McChrystal books, as well as the ones by, I think, Tom Ricks, or who was it? Anyways, the point is that he's not nuanced enough on the topics of war, and I feel like this video was inadequate insofar as explaining things as the way they are. And I think he relies too much on humor that is too passive, or not passive, but it is not passe. How would I describe it? It's way too modern. It's way too stuff in the moment. I feel like he's making this video for people who are like members of his channel, people that really like him, and that makes sense. But at the same time, you know, I don't get on these in-jokes. Oh, wow, you're autistic. That's hilarious, bro. I mean, come on. Like, what's going on here? And Again, the Jesus bobblehead, I disavow that. I mean, come on. And then not being nuanced on the Middle East, I doubt you. Come on. He needs to become more neocon-ish, and I'm not saying he needs to become John McCain. He has to become more Tom Cotton-esque, okay? So, yes, take the nuance pill. It'll set you free. Anyways, I like John Doyle. He's a great guy insofar as politics go. Personally, I don't know him, so keep that in mind. Again, I don't hate John, but I thought this was going to be good content, okay? And you know what? Maybe it was. And my disagreements with him are just political, pretty much. So keep that in mind. No ill will. Comment down below what you think, whether or not I should keep going in terms of reviewing John Doyle uploads, because I feel like nobody else is doing this. So I might as well just take the monopoly on it while I can. And also keep in mind that it should be pretty easy to do this series, considering he only uploads like once every other millennia. So we'll make sure to keep up to date with those things. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.